making sure that you can communicate to a lukewarm, to warm prospective customer in their preferred method of communication.
Measure what's working and what's not working. Know your analytics. Understand where you're at today in your journey and what needs to change, and do that by making small little changes.
Choose your preferred method of reaching out. There's so many avenues today that you can lose your mind. Pick a lane and then just be patient with the lane that you're choosing. Pick your chocolate, pick your vanilla, stick to that lane, have patience with it, and then over time you'll really get your result.
Marketing moves fast, so you need to roam that and find a way to work your way down that road based on what works for you the best. Welcome to Business Lunatics, the weekly show where four fearless loonies pull back the curtain on the wild, the wonderful, and sometimes downright ridiculous world of entrepreneurship. We talk about this with no fluff, no BS, just pure business madness. And today we're going to continue our episodes on the concept, on the category of lead generation. Please take a look at the previous three shows that we had on this topic. Today's show, we're going to continue now into lukewarm leads versus warm leads. The two very different topics when it comes to lead generation and two different approaches on this. And on that note, Freddy, why don't you start it off?
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to another episode. And lukewarm leads are really somebody that, for example, you met at a trade show and you got their information and that's about it. They stopped by, they said, yeah, I'm interested, and off they go. And you really didn't get a chance to have a conversation with them because you had three other people waiting to speak to you. So you grabbed their information, and that's really a lukewarm lead, someone that just stopped at your trade show. Hopefully you send a follow-up message to them for stopping by your booth. But that's about, a lot of times that falls through the cracks because a lot of people, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's a high percentage of people that don't follow up with trade show leads.
Yep.
Where a warm lead is someone that's actually, you've had a conversation with, they've been introduced to you perhaps through a partner. And the warm lead is going to be much more receptive to your phone call because of the fact, or your email message or whatever it is that you're communicating with them, because you've already established some form of relationship with that person versus a lukewarm lead where you met them at an event and you've had maybe 15-minute conversation with them. It's still a lukewarm lead because, as an example, you've gone to a networking event, you've met 12 people at the event, you sent follow-up emails, you've tried to contact them to schedule a meeting, you might get 2 out of the 12 that remember who you were and what you talked about. That's completely a lukewarm lead, and it's basically almost a cold lead.
Right. And we could transfer that into the digital world and say it's the same thing with somebody visiting your website, but they don't actually click on the contact us page.
Right.
And so, effectively what we're saying is somebody found you, right? No matter how they found you, like you said, they bumped into you at a conference. They found you through Google and they visited your website. But in both scenarios, they haven't really engaged with you. And this is the issue that a lot of businesses run into is, what do I do with that lukewarm lead? Now, the warm lead generation, I think we can all agree that it's coming from a referral, it's coming from an introduction, it's coming from a trusted source. That takes a whole different angle in terms of how you're going to manage that conversation. The lukewarm lead, in my opinion, is the one that's much harder, perhaps not as hard as a cold lead, but on the lukewarm side, now you have to figure out, well, who is this person, right? Well, in the conference case, at least you have a business card, you know how to contact them. On the website side of things, you have nothing other than the fact that we have tools on the web that allow us to identify the company that they came from.
Yes.
Or who visited who visited the website. There are tools that
Yeah,
show you
exactly.
who visited, and then you can get their mailing address on one platform that I'm familiar with, and then it allows you to do direct mail to that warm lead, and then you
What
can reference that they came to the website and continue to try to convert that from a lukewarm to a warm lead. But again, that percentage of them transferring from lukewarm to
it's low.
warm is
It's
low
low.
because you're really not interacting with them. You're leveraging other marketing collateral to do the job for
What
you.
about digital outreach to a cold lead that responds now becomes a lukewarm lead? They haven't become a warm lead where they say, "Hey, I'm interested in buying your products," but they said, "Yeah, you know what? I'll listen." Or, tell me what you got. Or here's another crazy one. Somebody refers you to somebody and it's totally not your ICP. You've explained to them who your ideal client profile is. This is who I'm looking to work with, this many size people in the legal field or whatever, and they send you a plumber. Well, that to me is a cold, lukewarm lead because the guy might know him. So it's not cold, but it's not a warm lead because they're really not the
Right.
person for me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Rochelle, you've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, I'm just listening, and I just hear a lot. One of the things that I love talking about on our group is no fluff. And this is an area that you got to be really careful with. There's a lot of marketing people, needless to say, present company excluded, where they say, we're going to increase your clicks. You have 2 clicks now, we're going to give you 2 million. Okay. They always exaggerate what they're going to do. So now a click is interesting, but if the click doesn't turn into some sort of a conversation or some sort of a download or some sort of next step, it doesn't do anything. So somebody will brag and say, I'll increase, I'll drive all this traffic to your website. I'll drive
Right.
all this traffic to your webinar. I'll drive all this traffic to whatever they're driving traffic to. And unless there's some sort of an inviting call to action, my thought is it really doesn't mean anything. If they don't give you, if they're just clicking on your website, and you just mentioned that, mainly, and they don't give you the their email address where you can have some sort of a follow-up, it really doesn't serve you. So we've got to be very careful when you hear the fluff of somebody that says we're going to increase your traffic. Increase your
Yeah.
traffic sounds sexy, but if there's no part two to it, it's irrelevant. And I know so many people that get really caught up in that. We're going to get your numbers to be who the heck knows what, and that's fluff. A warm lead is, let's say they come to, through whatever means, through an ad, through whatever, they came to your site, they clicked, and then they walked away. They gave you their email address so that you can therefore have some sort of follow-up opportunity that can lead to business. So be
That
careful
becomes a
what
warmer
we're
lead.
listening to.
Yeah, it becomes right. It becomes a warm lead. But the other
And
thing I
yeah.
want to really emphasize what Rochelle is saying is the fact that, okay, somebody comes into your website. If you don't have really a good mechanism for them to engage with you. So, for example,
Yeah.
the only way that someone can communicate with you is they have to call you. Most people are not going to want to make that phone call because they don't want to talk to somebody. They may just want to schedule an appointment to come in. I mean, there's times where I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to go schedule my appointment. I'll show up when I need to. So, for example, a chiropractor's office. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to get my appointment. So, if you don't have the tools that will communicate properly of how you want people to engage with you, you're going to lose, just like Rochelle said, you've got traffic driven to it, but they don't take any action because the action is not in favor of how that person prefers to communicate.
And I think this is why I was hung up a little bit on lukewarm leads versus warm leads. And warm leads are coming from trusted sources, right? And so you're being introduced. Theoretically, you should be able to move that to the next level. Lukewarm leads are the people that we just talked about. Well, they come to your website and there is no action. But this is where what I want to talk a little bit more about conversion rate optimization, CRO, right? There's a whole program wrapped up around how do you make your website more effective to generate more leads from the existing website traffic. In other words, we're not trying to create demand generation and driving more traffic to the website. We're saying, listen, whatever traffic you're already getting,
Let's get it to
and
convert.
I'm just throwing out, all right, I'm just throwing out a number. Let's say it's 10 leads a month. The question is, can you get that to 30 leads a month? Can you do a 200% increase? Now, that's not going to happen overnight. You need to use an AI tool. You need to do heat maps. You need to do A/B testing on pages, not all your pages. Pick your top 5 pages that you need to do A/B testing on. You need to have changes in your visuals, right? Colors or buttons or whatever the case might look like. When you're looking at CRO, you're looking at trying to figure out how do you improve your website so that it converts the visitors that are coming. If the visitor got to your website, they got there for a reason. Now the question
Well,
is, how do you take them
utilize
over the edge?
and
Right.
utilize
That's
the Google Analytics because it'll tell you
Yeah,
how
I
long they
agree.
spent on a page. It'll tell you what they clicked on. It'll tell you what pages they opened, how they got to your website in the first place. There's a lot of data mining out there that people just aren't doing. So they're not doing it with thought. I'll give you a quick example. This is kind of off topic, but it's on topic. I collect all my Fathom calls, and I took my last 10 sales calls that I had, and I put them in ChatGPT, and I told it to go through and tell me what am I doing right, and what am I doing wrong in my sales process. And man, it hit me hard, but it hit me in terms of mining that data, gave me really good information on why I'm not closing deals as much. 20 to 35% of my deals I'm losing. But in understanding your lead generation or whether you're warm leads or how to convert them, you can really use the analytics of AI to help you figure out the best way to do that. Or maybe, your messaging needs tidying up. Or maybe you need to hit them for more than one way of messaging, one email, maybe in some email marketing. And they have AI tools that will do one or the other, and they'll like your post and they'll view your profile and that kind of stuff. I think it's a multifaceted, multi-tiered attack in order to get a cold lead to a warm lead to a hot lead.
And more importantly, it takes time. You need patience. This
Mhm.
is not
right.
something you can just make a bunch of changes on your website and
Amen.
say, hey, I did everything I need to do. And hey, tomorrow I'm going to start getting more leads. And the answer is that's not going to
Consistency,
happen.
Right.
consistency,
Yeah.
consistency.
But the
Yeah,
important aspect
exactly.
is, okay, let's say someone goes to your website, that's a lukewarm lead, and then opts in, which now potentially becomes a warm lead. Your speed to engaging with that lead is just as crucial, if
I
not more
agree.
crucial,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because they've come in and they don't hear from you for 8 hours. They're gone. You've lost. It's no longer a warm lead. It's back to actually not even a lukewarm lead. It's a cold lead because they figured you're not on Johnny on the job, and they went someplace else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a life. I mean, and to be fair, full transparency, Christmas Eve. I just had back surgery. I was laying around anyway, ironically. But Christmas Eve, I got turned on to a bid, an RFP, request for proposal. And you got to turn off sometimes. You got to have, but you should have mechanisms for someone else, a VA or someone else to catch those things. But because I responded on Christmas Eve, I got the bid.
Bingo, speed.
Yeah. There you go.
I
Speed.
got the
But
bid.
speed also means trust.
Right.
Yeah,
In
and
other
and
words,
and, and I don't want to be on 24/7. Don't get me wrong. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. In this one instance, I was literally laying around anyway. So it kind of made sense that I could be looking at my phone. Oh, LinkedIn, bing, look at that. I got a lead. Cool. You know, but I think that you can set yourself up to nurture your leads properly by using different mechanisms, whether it's AI or it's a
yeah.
human in the loop, there's different ways of doing it. But yeah, speed to lead is important.
Or
I'm
another way to put this is that time kills trust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
absolutely
yeah.
correct.
that's a good one. I write that.
Sorry, Rochelle. Go ahead.
I just think that what somebody on the call might be interested in, maybe Maylee, you can kind of point this out. I think you need a step-by-step approach. You know, what's step
Mhm.
one, step two, step three, step four, because there's so many different ways of doing this. And I think that the number one thing you need before you do any of this is clarity. So if you don't know what to do and you're just throwing spaghetti on the wall without a roadmap, you're really wasting your time and you're increasing your frustration. Now, the same thing afterwards, Steve, like what are one or two specific AI tools that somebody can look into that can actually support them in identifying or moving forward with a warm lead? So,
I
Maylee,
know
let
the
me
answer. I know the answer.
wait,
Teacher,
go
teacher.
back. Maylee, start first. What's your roadmap? What's the roadmap first, second, third, and fourth?
Say roadmap for. I'm
The
just
warm
trying to
lead.
follow.
You get something coming to, you just really gave a lot of different ideas of what you can do once
Right.
it comes to your website. You've got color, so what are we looking at? Number one, what should we be looking at? Somebody comes to your website, and what are we looking at?
Okay.
Where did they
So
come? What did
first, yeah. So let's do this. Step number one, and this goes back to what Steve said. You want to look at your Google Analytics. Okay. And more importantly, within the all that data that Google gives you, you want to look for what's called the engagement rate. Okay. So, and I'm just throwing a number here. You have 100 visitors coming to your website, but your engagement rate is, let's say, 30%. Not to say that that's bad, but the question is, why isn't it 60%? Why isn't it 40? Why isn't it 50? Okay. And so your first step is to figure out what is your engagement rate. If you can figure out what your engagement rate is, that's your starting point to say, okay, that's my benchmark. I need to figure out what do I do with that 30% that said that engaged with me but didn't contact me. Okay, so that's one bucket. Now you got a 70% bucket that says they came to your website, and all they did was go to a single web page and they left your website. The 30%, at least they went to a second page. They at least said, hey, I want to
A lot
find
of
out more.
times
Then
they
they went
hit
to it.
one page and they're
Yeah.
gone.
They went to an about us. They went to a kind of whatever that looks like. At least that 30% said, I want to take it one step further. The 70% said, I'm not even interested. So we can play around all day long what to do with the 70%. My suggestion is if you can figure out what to do with the 30%, there's a good chance that you're going to pick up some of the 70% as well. So instead of looking at the bigger number where you could get frustrated trying to figure it out, let's go with a smaller number where we know, okay, these guys were interested. We can use tools to figure out who they are. In other words, what company they came from, and then use that to figure out how do we engineer backwards the possibilities of who that would have been. Then you can go use tools like Zoom Info. You can use tools like Apollo and a variety of other tools
You
that are on
can
the
also
market
make
that were
changes.
identified.
You can make changes to your website, and I'll use this for an example. So I use an outbound. You guys have heard me talk about an AI tool called Buzz. Not to promote them, but that's what I use. In my one campaign, I was getting an average of 4% reply rate. Okay. And I couldn't figure out how to get that number higher. And I know I got to get that number higher because if they're not replying, they're not engaging with me, which means I can't talk to them and hopefully turn them from a cold lead to a warm lead to a hot lead to a sale. Okay. I made a couple changes to my outreach and I added in some email messaging on top of my LinkedIn connections. So now they're getting hit on LinkedIn and then they're seeing me come in via email days, week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks later, whatever the timing is. And all of a sudden now I'm at 11% reply rate just by making some tweaks. Same thing with your website. Okay, I'm not getting, they're coming to my homepage and that's it. Well, I'd look at my homepage and go, what's not appetizing about my homepage? What do I need to change to make them want to go to take my assessment? Maybe I need a pop-up that says, earn a $50 gift card for taking our assessment, whatever. But the point
Yeah.
is utilizing the analytics and then making minor changes to whatever the pages that they're leaving from, because it'll tell you in analytics they came into this page. If they just left, 4 seconds bounce, then they went to no other page. Also, the time spent on the page tells you a lot as well. So if they're on your page for 12 seconds versus someone who's an average of 45 seconds, that means they're reading the content. They like what they're seeing. If not, you probably need to change your content. Something's not engaging them.
Rochelle,
I'm
does
going to
that
work
help?
in marketing. I'm going to join marketing next.
I just think that the thing in business that changes the quickest is things like marketing, and how do you get how do you engage the pulse of every single business is your business development, is your lead generation. So if you can create a template for yourself, a roadmap, whatever you want to do, so that you know that you're doing something very specific. After that, you can go back and course correct and look and see what is working and what isn't working, and then you can go forward. Because if
Melee
you're
said
not,
it, measure. Melee said
if
it,
you, well,
measuring.
no, even before measuring, it's clarity.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to do, you don't do anything. The problem with AI right now, there is so much overwhelm. What do I do first? There's so many different programs out there. Where do I start navigating?
You
So
call a
when
guy
you
like me and we give you help. That's one
well,
thing.
you start with where do you start with? What's the first one that you would start with? So a lot of people start with ChatGPT, and you can say, I rely on ChatGPT for, and then you say for whatever it is. And then after that, I'll go, you need a roadmap today. And without that
That's why you call
roadmap,
someone like me that says, "What do you do?" And you say, "I write blogs." Great. I tell you to use Claude. I wouldn't tell you to use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Or,
But let's go back. Let's go. I think we're kind of making a little bit of a left turn here.
yeah,
Let's
we
go.
are.
Let's
We're
go back
sideways. I'm
to
sorry.
yeah. Let's go back to the lead aspect. And so, all right. So as Melih kind of brought it up, we and to Rochelle's point, you have a roadmap that okay, you've got your website, you're tracking via the Google Analytics what's happening, what's going on. But now, more importantly, where the rubber hits the road is someone, wow, I got someone that sent in a message that said they're inquiring. Okay. You need to have a system that at least acknowledges that you've received their inquiry first and foremost. It's got to be automatic. That's an automation that you can set up that says, hey, Rochelle, thank you for requesting the information on this stuff. One of our people will be contacting you shortly. Blah blah blah. And so right off the bat, there's acknowledgement that
Yep.
your information has been received. That's first and foremost, because there's a lot of times I've submitted stuff on some websites and I don't hear anything. I don't get a confirmation. I don't get anything. And
It's
so
the worst feeling in the world too, wondering like, do they even know I exist or I reached out to them? Do they?
exactly. And then the next aspect we talked earlier is the speed to contacting them. So now someone's got to say, hey, I know that you've submitted it. When's a good time to reach out to you if that's not available? One of the things I've coached people on in the past is on their forms, put in their suggested day and time to contact them back because now they know their schedule better than you do, and you're minimizing hit and miss. Because if I filled out a form and says, "Hey, best time to contact me is tomorrow, Thursday at after 3 o'clock," then I can just say, "Hey, I received your information, Rochelle, and you indicated a contact. I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock." Boom! Everybody's got their time maximized. You
Yep.
know the expectation. You're going to get a call back from me that received your lead. We're done. The ones that you're still chasing, if someone fills out the form and you have no idea when to reach back to them, you're still fishing because now it's just a hunt and miss. You reach out to them, send them an email, they may not reply. You make a phone call, it may go to voicemail, and now you're back into the cat and mouse game.
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree.
Yep.
I mean, I think what everything that we've just talked about, whether it's Google Analytics, changes to your website, whether it's having a roadmap, whatever the case might look like, everything that we've talked about says you need to be patient. You're gonna you're gonna work with X and you're going to implement Y and you're gonna wait
Hmm.
for the results of that. And then based on that, you move on to the next step and to the next step and to the next step. And the impatience, in my opinion, is what's driving people insane, and it stops them from wanting to proceed further. And I'm like, no, you need, your job is that patient.
Well, it goes back,
Now
it
that,
goes back to, I'll use a simpler example, is it goes back to dating. You're going after the pretty girl or the pretty guy, and you're pursuing them, you're chasing, and they're running away. Versus if you're patient, you stand still, you become attractive, and they come towards you. So you're talking really the same thing about really leveraging the patience there, because you've got to refrain from chasing and going on to something else. You got to sit there and let it play itself out. And the other thing that I forgot to mention on the form is also to indicate what's their preferred method of communication,
That's you.
Sure.
because some
Yeah,
people prefer phone call, some
that's
people
good.
prefer text message, or some people prefer email. If you have that in your form, I have closed more deals in the past because I had that was the way my form was on my website. And so they wanted a text message. I sent them a text message. And guess what? I got an instant response.
Sure.
My
Yeah,
old
some people
customer,
don't even answer voicemail. They're like,
Oh, I have clients
Not
that
anymore.
actually say, do not leave a message on this line. I
check it.
don't answer it. I don't look at it.
I
I have nothing
agree.
to do with it. So I don't even
you
know
Yeah.
why
want
they
me,
even
text
have it,
me.
but that's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a customer
Everybody.
years ago that his preferred communication was email. He'd be sitting on the tarmac, ready to take off to go fly someplace. And I get an email from him saying, I got your message. I'm sitting on the tarmac. We're about to fly off. I wanted to get back to you to say that I received your email and I get back to you when I get back from my trip. Boom, done. But I knew his preferred method of communication.
Yeah,
yeah, very
that's a
important.
big one.
Very important. And guys, we're coming close to our 30-minute mark. So perhaps we should start working on our takeaways. Freddie, why don't you start off?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is making sure that you can communicate to a lukewarm to warm prospective customer in their preferred method of communication.
Right, Steve.
Measure what's working and what's not working. Know your analytics. Understand where you're at today in your journey and what needs to change, and do that by making small little changes. So I say the biggest thing is measuring and metrics. Here's where I'm at now. I want to get
Yes.
to here. Great. How am I doing each
Yeah.
week? How am I doing each week? So you can see if you're getting there. And if not, make adjustments.
Rochelle.
I'm gonna go with what you always say, Melih. It's you gotta be patient with this. You gotta be. I mean, if not, first of all, the other thing is choose your preferred method of reaching out. There's so many avenues today that you can lose your mind. So number one, pick a lane. My preferred lane is LinkedIn. I mean, if I was on every imaginable lane, it would make it even more harder. So pick a lane and then just be patient with the lane that you're choosing. I always say that Baskin and Robbins has like 31 flavors in ice cream. They still sell the most chocolate and vanilla. So pick your chocolate, pick your vanilla, stick to that lane, have patience with it, and then over time you'll really get your result. If you spread too thin, I don't think anything will happen for you.
Right.
Mm. So you decided to use my my patience as your takeaway. I'm going to use your roadmap as my takeaway, and I'm going to say that marketing moves fast, so you need a roadmap and find a way to work your way down that road based on what works for you the best. And on that note, everybody, that's it for this week's Business Lunatics. Hit follow, hit subscribe, and join the Loonies next week for more no fluff, no BS, and just pure business magics as we continue the show and the cat topic of lead generation. Thank you very much.